Okay, so we'll get started. Thank you everyone for joining today's Promise of Place webinar through the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, focusing on excellence and lifting up the city of Oakland, California. This is the first webinar we'll have this year in a series of webinars that will cover a number of cities that were measured in the first Promise of Place report, and also another set of webinars that will be running that are focusing on high school excellence that we'll talk about briefly at the end. Just to make sure if you're on the phone or listening via your headset that you are on the web link so that you can follow along with the slides that we'll be sharing with you all today. But I will now transfer it over to Robert Simmons, who is the Vice President of Strategy and Innovation at CBMA.
Thanks, Jamila. Good afternoon to everyone. Good morning to those on the West Coast. We're excited to have everyone here for our first Promise of Place webinar. Excited to have our colleagues from Oakland connecting with us during the webinar. As we go through, I just want to make sure that we have a clear focus on excellence. The next slide just talks about some of the guiding principles and the three key values that are attached to the Promise of Place report. And these are the things that we push folks towards as we think about quality practice. Oakland is an amazing example of this, as are other communities, but I'm excited to have Oakland elevate, number one, their collective work and responsibility. Number two, the respect and recognition, especially when I think about the work that Chris Chapman has done with narrative change, and I'm looking forward to Chris talking a bit about that. The third piece is thinking about the bold goals and outcomes, which our Health and Healing Strategies team will talk quite a bit about, because they've definitely set aspirational goals to guide our collective work, especially in the area of health and healing. As you join this webinar, as well as other future webinars related to Promise of Place, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that part of our work on the webinars is to look at field engagement and field building efforts that are going on around the country so that we can learn together to build a community of practice, but also thinking about the strategies that are working in cities, networks, and organizations and individuals so that we can move the needle such that there's actually tangible process for Black men and boys. And so as we think about this call to action, I want to make sure I elevate the survey gizmo that you see there. We have 40 assessments from a variety of places, and usually you want to have at least 40 in one city in order for it to be a good data collection point for us to use for our Promise of Place. So I'm going to encourage everyone to use the CBMA City Field Building Blocks assessment, and as we collect that information, we will work with communities along the way. The other thing that I want to point out during the webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat box, and Jamila will make sure that she elevates those along the way. A little bit about the Campaign for Black Male Achievement. CBMA is a member organization. It's a network of about 5,200 leaders representing 2,700 organizations and growing. You can see on the map the variety of communities that CBMA has significant presence in. You can actually notice it in the Bay Area, between Oakland, San Francisco, Sacramento. We actually have a very large network, second only to New York, so shout out to our Bay Area colleagues. At CBMA, we have a national and a city strategy where we're thinking through Black Male Achievement field engagement as well as Black Male Achievement field tracking. All of this is in the context of the CBMA Bold Goal, which is an aspirational rallying cry and declaration of what we want our impact to be for the Black Male Achievement movement. Dating back almost 10 years now, actually, to the startup of CBMA under the Open Society Foundation, Numerous organizations have supported CBMA over the years. This is just a list of several of the funders from Skillman to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to the California Endowment, Casey Ford, so on and so forth. And so you'll notice that over time the number of funders has increased, and you can kind of track a lot of this on our website, just generally speaking about the amount of investment from philanthropy and other spaces in the field of Black male achievement. CBMA has seeded and significantly contributed to numerous initiatives and organizations across the country, from BME, Cities United, Echoing Green. We helped launch the Echoing Green Black Male Achievement Fellowship, Executives Alliance, My Brother's Keeper Alliance, New York City's Young Men's Initiative, and the National League of Cities and their Black Male Achievement Technical Assistance. So CBMA has collaborated and continues to partner with all of those organizations in some capacity. When we think about CBMA, for those who are new to the call, on the far right of this particular slide, you'll see some of the reports that CBMA has done. One of the things that's important to keep in mind as we think about the philanthropic support and all of the top 3 reports, they all feed into the Promise of Place report, Cities Advancing Black Male Achievement. We are going to launch the Promise of Place 2.0 in 2017, and so the last quarter of the year we're going to release that particular report. We are going to update folks on where cities are. Some folks' scores may grow, some may fall back, and we're going to add a couple of up-and-comers into the report that are doing great work, and we're also looking to add an element that looks at promising practices to make sure that everyone is able to look at different things that are taking place to move the needle across the country. With Promise of Place, it's important to keep in mind that the index scored 50 cities based on their visible level of engagement and committed action on behalf of Black men and boys. This report is not an outcomes-based report. It is not measuring how successful our communities are with high school graduation, literacy scores, or things like that. It's not designed to do that. The median score was 53. When we did the first report, it's also key to remember that there are some people who were not engaged in the space in their communities at that particular point in time, and at this point we've seen a drastic shift, and there are communities such as Palm Beach, communities such as Seattle that have ramped up their work focusing on Black male achievement. So we're excited to use a telescopic lens using publicly available data, so it won't be data that is hidden, but it will be publicly available data. We'll reveal the data sources to everyone in the report. It's important to emphasize that it is not a scoring of the best cities, nor is it a scoring of how well Black men and boys are faring in the city. And the BMA City Index, which is another element of our website, it is not an assessment of the quality of the initiatives. Okay, so it's important to keep in mind that this is simply a telescopic lens that aims to highlight some of the initiatives that are promising in the field. On the next slide, you'll see that there are 5 categories that you want to pay attention to, and I've heard from multiple communities about how do I raise my score, what's going to impact my score, and I won't read that particular slide to you, but you can see that there are 5 elements that are going to factor into that particular scoring. Last time we ran the report in 2015, Oakland, Detroit, and Washington, D.C. all were 1A, 1B, and 1C in terms of, I believe, receiving 95 points. And so it's important to keep in mind that a city like New Orleans, which was at 85, and a city like Baltimore at 78, they could potentially see their scores grow to 95, depending on where they land with these particular categories that we'll be looking at. As we're going to talk about Oakland today, I just wanted to highlight Oakland's scorecard, and you can see from their scorecard, as I mentioned, they scored 95. CBMA on our new website, which I'm excited about, has links to all of these things. So I'm hoping that everyone will go to our website at blackmaleachievement.org and look at your community's scorecard, and you'll see a lot of different data that is going to be relevant. Oakland is a great case study on the next slide, and when you look at Oakland's Promise of Play score, they scored 95 out of 100, knowing that the average of all 50 cities was about 53. It's important to also keep in mind that if you look at the far right side of the slide and the far left, it shows you some of the things that Oakland has done to reach that point in the Promise of Place report. So Oakland is certainly a good model to consider as we think about the amazing work that they have done. They've also had deep engagement around their own capacity building. I'm happy to call out that Oakland is home to one of the BMA innovators, Chris Chapman, who's now the Deputy Chief of Equity for the Oakland Unified School District. As we head down this path of hearing insights from Oakland, it's important to keep in mind that every community is different. Every community faces a different set of challenges. Context is different. And for this particular framework that we're looking at with Oakland, I'm excited to have insights from Oakland. Our presenters are going to be Chris Chapman, who's the Deputy Chief of Equity from the Oakland Unified School District, Dr. Phyllis Hubbard, who's the Director of CBMA's Health and Healing Strategies, Edem, who is a great collaborator with CBMA. Edem is the founder and owner of 393 Films. And Nedja Ginwright is the Chief Flourish Officer and the founder of the Flourish Agenda. So I'm excited to have the presenters just share some of the best practices that they're seeing, anything that they're learning from their work, any pitfalls they would encourage others to avoid, mistakes they've made along the way that will be helpful for other communities doing this work. So I want to turn it over to Jamila to kick us off and get our presenters started.
Sure. So first we're going to start with Brother Chris Chapman, who is the Deputy Chief of Equity at the Oakland Unified School District.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you good.
All right. Wonderful. Well, first and foremost, it is a pleasure and a privilege to be on this call. Thank you, Sister Jamila, and thank you, Brother Robert, for your vision and support. As been noted, my name is Chris Chapman. I'm the founding executive director of African American Male Achievement and now the Deputy Chief of Equity. African American Male Achievement was founded about 7 years ago in Oakland Unified School District to improve graduation rates for African American males, improve attendance rates, improve literacy rates, improve middle school holding power. At the time, we were suspending 1 out of every 3 African American male students in middle school. And the way to decrease that was to improve the culture and conditions of middle schools, as well as decrease suspension rates and decrease incarceration rates. And so we've been on this journey for the last 7 years, and it's really been a collective struggle of folks aligning kind of the culture keepers and assets within Oakland to align not just physical assets and monetary assets, but the collective genius and legacy here in Oakland around the needs and nuances of Black children from transitional kindergarten through 12th grade. And so we're still on this journey, and you'll hear from some of the other culture keepers shortly around how we are working to create the culture and conditions necessary that lead to improve life outcomes and educational outcomes for Black boys. But some of the key drivers have been knowing that alone you are necessary but far insufficient. And so this work of collaboration, of calibration, of coordination with both local folks as well as national folks has allowed us to weather the storm of now 5 superintendents and what I believe which is kind of this new assault on public school education with the new Secretary of Education and the decreased investment in public schools. The way that we are able to keep our focus on Black children will be through collaboration. And the Campaign for Black Male Achievement has been a near and dear thought partner out the gate, an investor, an innovator, and has helped support us to really see, which will be our 8th year. And so I think how we're able to weather the storm of kind of change in a public school system is through collaboration and having kind of national gatekeepers, so to speak, is when you go through climate change within a small or within a learning community, when you lose a superintendent or the school board shifts, the national partners can kind of leverage their cachet and influence to actually keep the main thing the main thing. And so definitely appreciative, greatly appreciative of the work and leadership of Sean Delv and CBMA. But I think we've been able to weather these storms really through that kind of national support that CBMA has provided. And as we go and turn this next corner, one of the areas that I'm really excited about is our deep investment around literacy at the high school level, where through the support of CBMA, we're actually bringing on a full-time literacy specialist that'll do and provide push-in strategies for our students that are below grade level based on the scholastic reading inventory that we use to kind of assess where our kings and queens are at with regards to literacy, and we'll develop specific supports for our kings and queens while simultaneously developing professional learning to support teachers around reading, writing, literacy strategies, both in the classroom as well as around lesson plan and assessment and evaluation of literacy within the classes. I'll close with, as my phone just went black in terms of notes, I think another area where CBMA has been a tremendous support has been with their video. You know, we just launched the city of Oakland, our My Brother's Keeper, kind of the implementation phase. And one of the videos that actually kind of synthesizes the power of collective impact and collaboration has been a video that CBMA produced that highlights one of our kings, Toussaint, who's been with us since 8th grade and now just graduated from high school last year and is working with our Student Leadership Council. But that video also speaks to kind of the depth and breadth of which our department has been located within Oakland Unified School District and the true collaborative effort that it takes really over the span of 7 years to improve life outcomes for Black boys. And so the video captures that in ways that, you know, you can't capture in a PowerPoint or just kind of looking at a data set. And so I think using and leveraging video is a great way to share story, to share best practice, and the CBMA video lifting up this collaboration has been a wonderful way to capture the work and actually excite and ignite other folks, both locally and nationally, to dip their toe, so to speak, in the field of Black male achievement within the public school sector. And so really have appreciated the video that was recently released by CBMA. And so I'll stop there knowing Sister Phyllis and Brother Edemu and Sister Nedra will be sharing other things that are happening in Oakland. And just give thanks for the opportunity to lift up some of the work that we're doing here in Oakland.
Thank you, Chris. I think that was really helpful just to have the overview and just knowing what's going on in the field, especially at the city and the district level. Thank you so much again. And also we'll link back with you to get the video so we can all see and then share it out with the network. But Phyllis, I don't know if you wanted to go next and kind of talk about CBMA and health and healing strategies and also what you see going on in Oakland. Did we lose her? You might be on mute. She's not on. Okay. So why don't we then go to Edemu for right now, and then we'll link back with Dr. Phyllis Hubbard.
Okay. Greetings. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Blessings. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here with you all this morning. My name is Edem Madye with 393 Films, and the project that I'll be working on and discussing today is Journey to Radiance. And Journey to Radiance, you know, I like to first, this quote that I really love that kind of helps put into perspective Journey to Radiance is, it's not the destination, but it's the journey that's divine. And what we're really trying to do is to highlight these beautiful divine journeys that we're on in the field of black male achievement. And our overall goal, of course, with Journey to Radiance is going to allow us to create and promote positive dialogue and images around health and wellness, and really to encourage positive life outcomes in the field of black male achievement, and doing this by providing innovative and empowering solutions to improve self-imagery, esteem, confidence, motivation, to really promote and highlight the best of what it means to have a family and how to keep that together. And we really plan to do this on a different array of multimedia platforms. One is music, another is podcasts, and another is the webisode. So the first part in the Journey to Radiance in regards to the music is really looking at music through a different lens. A lot of times music that we hear today is mostly geared towards entertainment, and really what we want to do through the music creation is to emphasize the healing of music, and how can the music that we're hearing be a healing tool with positive affirmation, different healing melodies, and tranquil, uplifting sounds and messages. And the first one that we did was Journey to Radiance. It was co-written by Dr. Phyllis and myself, and it really gave us an opportunity to really put this style of music out there. And we plan to create more of this radiant-type music and videos to go with it, you know, really echoing a lot of what Brother Chris Chapman was speaking about, just putting a video and imagery to a lot of this information to help to gain a wider audience and to be seen in a different light. So in regards to the music, that's the platform we'll be working on. Another one is the podcast. And the podcast is going to give us a wonderful opportunity to create positive dialogue really around self-imagery, esteem, confidence, motivation, and dialogue providing innovative and empowering solutions to a lot of the health factors that we're facing out here, just working in the field of black male achievement, or just out here on our own journey. And, you know, things such as the stress management, you know, how do we deal with that? How do we prevent the stress that we're feeling from the job and from our environment from being transferred into our students, being transferred into our family, and really create a forum where we can dialogue around different hurdles that we face in that area, emphasize solutions, and really produce a lot of creative ways to come at that. The other platform we'll be working on is the webisode, and the webisode is a really wonderful opportunity for us to go on these journeys to radiance that we all go through, and to really emphasize some of these journeys that we go on in this field of black male achievement, and to really showcase what does this healthy family look like, what does self-mastery look like, what does a strong organization look like, and what does the community, a strong community that's working together, look like. So I'm very excited about all these different platforms to really showcase these journeys that we're on, and really looking forward to producing some wonderful, healing, creative art.
Thank you so much, Edem. And just also to mention for everybody else on the call that you are also one of the CBMA Health and Healing Strategies, the strategic partners. And I think we have Dr. Billups Hubbard now on the line.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Goodness, thank you.
No worries. So for everybody that doesn't know, Dr. Billups Hubbard is actually part of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement team. Is based out of Oakland and is leading the Health and Healing Strategies work, and she'll be talking to you all now about connecting health and healing strategies to some of the major components of the Promise of Place report.
Yes, thank you so much. And so I wanted to start by just providing a quick framing or context for the work, since a lot of people have not heard of CBMA Health and Healing Strategies. And it really is a campaign in and of itself that seeks to improve the health and well-being outcomes of cross-sector leaders working on behalf of black males. And this is through strategic communications, self-empowerment, training, and wellness education. And this is very different. It's never been done before, focusing on the leaders in the field of Black male achievement. And when you think about Black males and the educational system at large, and you look at what pieces might be missing, the question that I always have is, why haven't we addressed the root causes that drive challenges that are facing people who create the learning environment for Black males? And that's really what CBMA Health and Healing Strategies is all about. I was looking at some research about teachers and how the stress of teachers affect students. And although teaching is one of the most stressful occupations in America, very little is done to ensure that teachers have the resources they need to cope with stress, and that directly affects their students. So what I wanted to do is talk just a little bit about what we are doing in Oakland, and as you can see from the slide, that's a couple of fun pictures to the left of leaders in Oakland, and to the right, leaders in Sacramento, work that we've been doing. And so the CBMA Health and Healing Strategies team of strategic partners, two of which you'll hear from on the call, are looking at all the different ways that we can touch people who touch Black males' lives. So if you think about mentors, mentorship and mentorship training is extremely important, and our national partner, CARES Mentoring, has local affiliates in Oakland that recruit and train mentors to advance the field, working with health issues but also academic issues as well. And you'll hear shortly from Flourish Agenda. I like to call them Team Ginwright. They are a power team and my spiritual siblings for sure, and they have an incredible radical healing platform that addresses teachers and school personnel, but they also work with community leaders as well. And then you just heard from Edem, who is my spiritual twin as well, working on strategic communications, and you're going to see a lot more. Chris Chapman was talking about video, a lot more video coming out from the field of Black male achievement, of Black males actively engaging in their own self-care. So I'm really, really excited about the work that we're doing there as well. And then we also look at addressing trauma that shows up in the lives of community leaders, parents, and guardians. And our strategic partner, run by Rev Wyatt, Strategic Destiny, has an incredible series of workshops called Triumph Over Trauma. These presentations have been absolutely incredible. The response that we've received from people has been unprecedented. So if you go to the next slide, you can see a little bit of the type of resources that we provide in this program. Basically, it is technical assistance. We do in-person presentations. We do networking, collaboration. If there's someone in Oakland that says, hey, I want to do some work in Detroit, we connect them up and promote the work that they're doing nationally. I'm constantly doing video interviews that you can see on our webpage and on Facebook as well, of just different aspects of healing from different partners in the community. What are they doing to improve health and wellness in their lives? We also have multimedia content. We're going to be developing a huge health and healing online portal, which is in development now. Really excited about that. And we also do health and healing retreats as well. So many different ways of teaching people how to actively engage in their own self-care, and also showing how that funnels back into the community. If you go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit of what we've been doing so far. So what we've done now is shared the vision of health and healing strategies. We continue to do that because what we've noticed in talking about challenges, when I go to, for example, school personnel and say, you know, we're looking to improve the health outcomes of leaders in the field of Black male achievement, and the school personnel will say, that's great, I want you to come talk to the teachers. And I would say to them, yes, but I'm also here for you because you create the environment for the teachers, and it's all connected, it's all interconnected. And so really getting people to see the broader perspective of health and healing and how that impacts learning is really important. So we have assessed the needs of BMA leaders, and we continue to do that, continue to conduct listening campaigns and so forth. We've built our strategic partner team. some of which you have heard from and will hear from, and in just 6 months have conducted 27 wellness trainings in Oakland and Sacramento. So it's been really wonderful. We will make sure that you get the link to the Journey to Radiance podcast, and you will soon see the webisode. It's being reconfigured to be re-released on iTunes, and we're really excited about that. But the song is ready now, and you can hear that. So we'll make sure to get that information out to you. And we're super excited to announce that the California Endowment extended our grant to continue the work through 2019. So we're really happy about that. And then the final thing I want to share with you, I believe on the next slide, is just a little bit about the work that we're doing and how it has translated to the students. So although we are focused just on the leaders in the field of black male achievement, one of our partners, who is not even a strategic partner, just someone who came to a workshop, Target Excellence, I really like to highlight the work that they're doing. We did one presentation for their faculty, for the staff at the beginning of the semester. And what they did was, I noticed they were taking pictures of my slides, so I said, no worries, I'll get the slides out to you. We sent the slides out to them, and then they sent me back drafts of critical thinking exercises. And I thought, this is great. This is something that I would want to do in the next year or so, but they were already doing it now. So they took health and healing strategies, turned them into critical thinking exercises, sent them home with the parents or with the students, and had the students and parents learning how to breathe, to reduce stress, learning about nutrition. And these are just some examples of some of the critical thinking exercises. We've developed about 5 that we're testing right now, and it's been incredible. And when I went back at the end of the 6-month period of time to go to their, this is at Rosa Parks Elementary School in Sacramento, when I went back just to do a quick, breathing exercise during their family engagement night, I was shocked to see that my PowerPoint slides were turned into posters that they put all around the room. The parents had already been hearing a lot of information about healthy foods. There were young kids talking about fruit-infused water at stands. There was no junk food. I've never been to a family engagement night where there's been no junk food at all. There were fruits and vegetables, and everyone was trying all these different healthy foods. They were open to the breathing exercises and the Qigong that I was teaching. It was absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it, and it was just from one presentation that I did in the beginning of the semester. And so there's a lot of work that we can do to advance the field. And when you think about environment and stress and how that affects learning, what if we could teach young people to improve mental focus, acuity, and concentration through those routes? I think it is just amazing. So I'm super excited about the work that we're doing, and I'll sort of stop there so that you can hear from one part of Team Ginwright to hear about the incredible work that Flourish Agenda is doing. They have been an amazing strategic partner with us, and I would say that there's been 2 times where right after the election, we have had presentations where people were so distraught. And one of the times, Flourish Agenda showed up and completely changed the game. So it was really, really exciting to see how quickly we can shift consciousness through the work. So thank you so much for having us and allowing us to talk about CBMA Health and Healing Strategies. I'll turn it back to you, Jamila.
Thank you. And we also want to hear from Nidra Ginwright, who's the Chief Flourish Officer and founder of Flourish Agenda, which is also a strategic partner of CBMA's Health and Healing Strategies in Oakland.
Great. Thank you, Jamila, and thank you to our very own Dr. Phil. This is Nedra from Flourish Agenda. Just wanted to celebrate and lift up the fact that we are one of the Oakland-based partners with CBMA, and I'm also an Echo and Green Fellow through BMA, so there's a couple of points of connection. So just wanted to highlight that. At Flourish Agenda, we believe that in order for Black men and boys to flourish, we need to create an ecosystem approach towards individual and collective healing and well-being. In this spirit, what we've done is created a space for Black youth and the providers who serve them to heal from the impacts of daily stress, the trauma that we're exposed to, microaggressions, and internalized racism and oppression. I know Dr. Phil highlighted the work that we do with providers. That's our connection through CBMA. We also work directly with young people, too. Our model that we operate from is called radical healing, and we coined that term when we first started doing our work. We learned a lot about the process to transform young people. The adults who serve them, and communities in general, needs to be an ecosystem approach, and it needs to be an intense approach to restore hope, power, and limitless possibilities. And we do that through 5 core principles that we call karma. And it breaks down to culture, agency, relationships, meaning, and aspirations. So all of our work, all of our practices, all of our tools are in alignment with one of those, or all of those, rather, principles. What we know is that hurt people hurt people. And so given that, we also must know that healed people can heal people. So in Oakland, what we're doing is creating transformational experiences for people to go through a healing and well-being process, so that they can do their own kind of self-discovery, so they can realize their own purpose and can have practices to do their own self-care and healing, so that when they go and work with the young people, they're operating from a place of well-being. So we do that with the adults that we serve, and that's educators as well as youth service providers. And we also support young people through a 5-day intensive summer camp called Camp Achille. One area that we're getting ready to explore in the spirit of creating an ecosystem is how do we also work with parents in doing this intensive work. As Dr. Phil mentioned, it's not just about working with the youth. It's not just about working with the teachers, but the whole ecosystem is teachers, it's parents, it's school administrators, it's classified staff, it's the young people. So how do we start creating neighborhoods and communities that are operating from a level of well-being? In the spirit of the CBMA values of collective work and responsibility, it's already been noted that this is a partnership and a collaborative. We've done some work with AAMA as well and Brother Chris Chapman. We have other partners in Oakland as well that we work with. In regard to the respect and recognition, I love that piece around how do we change the narrative to look at it more assets that our young men have. And so for us, what that really means is how do we change our language and have more asset-based language. For instance, we always talk about violence prevention, but we don't lift up enough peace creation. And so how do we look at all aspects of our work and start changing our language and creating opportunities of what we want to see rather than what we don't want to see. And then lastly, having bold and clear goals. Our bold and clear goal is we want to create opportunities nationally for people to be engaged in deep, intensive healing work so that we can restore kind of our basic essence and move into a space where we can live out our purpose and flourish. One of the things that we've learned in this work is that it really resonates with people. It feels soft and touchy-feely, but once people kind of get into it, they recognize this is just the medicine that they needed to be able to move forward and support their own lives and the lives of young people. The other kind of pitfall, the things that we've learned or the things that we know that we need, particularly with regards to working with educators here in Oakland, one of the challenges is our educators always are doing professional development, and they're not very long and intensive, and we need more space and opportunity to do more intensive work with folks that are working with our babies. And so that means how do we also engage the unions in that process? How do we move from professional development to personal transformation and seek, again, an ecosystem of well-being for all? So I'll end there.
Thank you so much, Nedra. And I now want to open it up to the audience. If you have questions, feel free to use the chat box on your screen to send us any questions you have for any of the presenters at all. But we do have a few that came in while you all were speaking. The first one is for Brother Chris. Somebody wants to know if you have any advice on how to expand programs into public schools.
The question is how to expand programs into public schools?
Yes.
I guess a few things I would lift up in response to that is a few things. One, identifying kind of key culture keepers within the community that also then could speak to the efficacy, the quality of your program as a strategy to have a collective voice on why your service should be within the school. So ideally principals, teachers, classified staff, people that sit on the PTA or the school site council, having one-to-ones with the school board as a way to build trust, as a way to engage them and inform them on your program, on the quality and why this should be a program that should be, adopted or practiced or embedded in the school or in the school district as another way. Having community engagement strategies is a way to, engage the broader community around a theme. So looking at the school data, for example, if it's a particular school that you're interested in, or the district data, and if the services that you provide directly impact an area where the data is there's room for improvement, then you can lean in. And so having community engagements is a way to kind of inform people around your strategy as a way to kind of share these are best practices. So again, it's not just you, the individual, but now the community lifting up that, hey, look, we have some strategies in our own neighborhood and community that actually can speak to an area where our school or our district is falling support or falling short in. And lastly, if you don't tell your story, ain't nobody else going to tell your story. So this idea, and this is kind of lifted up through everybody, is, how you begin to capture, your narrative, leveraging social media, being able to kind of put forward, multimedia and video as a way to capture the work that you're doing to kind of infiltrate, so to speak, different circles and different groups within the school community and or the broader city as a strategy to get people more aware of the support that you're doing. But, those are some strategies I would lift up. And if you're, interested in, and if I can be of support, feel free to reach me and I can set some time aside to talk to you more kind of intimately about your specific program as well and strategies that we used in Oakland to embed our work within the district.
Great, thank you. And we have another question for Edem, actually. Do you have best strategies for partnering with other partner organizations for the coordination of media campaigns and other media and multimedia strategies?
Can you repeat that question again, please?
Yes. Do you have any best strategies or practices for partnering with other organizations on media campaigns or multimedia projects?
Yes. I think that the main strategies that we're using is, when we talk about this journey, we're highlighting journeys of people within the field of Black male achievement and going with them. So, for instance, the first episode we did, we highlighted a young man from here in Oakland, Jamaria Lewis, and he was able to go to Rumble, Young Man Rumble in Louisville, Kentucky. And out there, he was able to connect with a lot of different people in regards to the own media that he was doing, in regards to promoting the song and the episode that he was on, and really just trying to build those bridges with other organizations to further promote what we're doing and to also help promote what it is they're doing. So, for instance, if somebody in Detroit is doing something amazing, we have the opportunity to travel out to see this and also to combine forces and promote together. And I think really what it is for us to do is as soon as we get all of our things straight in regards to how we're going to promote it and start getting some episodes in, I think we'll see a lot more collaboration with other organizations that we are highlighting and that would like to be highlighted through the Journey to Radiance platform.
Thanks, and we have actually an open question now for anybody that wants to take this. Person thanks all the presenters for everything that's been shared today. Question is, Oakland is clearly working towards being a promise of place city and building a movement around Black male achievement work. And they want to know, what is your best advice or top strategy or thought as people that are in other cities across the nation are beginning to build their local field, are beginning to engage in this work in different ways?
This is Robert from CBMA. Can you hear me, Jamila?
Yep.
I think that one of the things I've found from my time both in D.C. and nationally with CBMA is that oftentimes communities try to eat the apple all at one time. And one of the lessons I've learned, and, shout out to Brother Chris, I've watched his work grow, is that if you try to do it all at one time, I think you end up doing nothing. And I think that it's important to recognize and acknowledge that there are a lot of directions you can go. And it's important to choose 2 to 3, 3 to 4 that you can do and use as a learning lab, some that will serve as a proof point, and some that you know that you will do absolutely well. So I think that is one of my suggestions that I always give to communities, is not to try to solve all of the problems all at one time, and that is a difficult thing to navigate and manage, but it's a lesson I learned the hard way multiple times. I also think that once you get into a space where you're throwing ideas at the wall based on research and best practice, at some point you have to stop throwing things at the wall and kind of let them seep in, or else you get into that. At least from my days as a classroom teacher, we used to always laugh when we went to professional development in the summer, because we would always say, yeah, we're doing this now, but in 2 months there'll be a whole new curriculum in the school system, because people don't have the patience to let things settle, figure out what's working and what's not working. So that would be one bit of advice. I also think that the last thing I'll say is getting clear on a funding pipeline on the front end to figure out if it is something new that's outside of a regular line item in the budget, that you know what your pathway is to funding, so you're not trying to figure that out on the back end. And then, I guess the last thing is continue to reach out to CBMA, because we can be helpful in that space. And I know that we'll have other webinars, and folks can email me at rsimmons@blackmaleachievement.org, and I can share some of the other insights from what I've seen in other communities. But yeah, definitely love to hear from others who may have suggestions.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
I can jump back in if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'll just say a few things in the spirit of advice. Align yourself with like-minded, like-spirited people. It's in isolation that we burn out, and we are unable to really address this sort of institutional oppression and racism and these structures that have been created for decades. And so our strength is in our support. So definitely kind of asset mapping and beginning to align with like-minded and like-spirited people. I think simultaneously is building off the cultural legacy and prosperity of those folks in your neighborhood or in your community, knowing that, really everything we're doing here in Oakland is nothing new. We stand tall off so many elders, both male and female, that actually created the conditions for us to fly farther, faster, because all of the folks that are on this call have benefited from the Panther movement, from Marcus Foster, and from Wade Nobles and Arnold Perkins, and so many culture keepers that we've been able to kind of build off of that legacy and keep that cultural vibration moving forward. And I'll say simultaneously, so strength is in our support, building off of your history and her story. And then this quote of when you take the E out of ego, you go forward, but understanding it's not about you. It's really about your children and your community. And a lot of times our ego, prevents us then from really doing what is required. And so to the degree we can take that E out so we can move forward is being humble and learning how to listen and being right with your brother and your sister in service of your community does take time because we're all on a journey of transformation. But what I have found in the spirit of Oakland is that there's an extraordinary legacy. There's an extraordinary group of folk that have been doing this work for a long time. And what gives me hope is the opportunity to continue to align and build and grow with folks, not just for myself, but within my family, within our neighborhood, so we can reimagine new systems and structures that when we learn our history give us permission to know that, hey, we're on the right track because we've done this before. And I'll never forget, and I'll close with this, when I was humbled at a dinner the CBMA convened in Detroit, when they started the African-centered school movement back in the 70s and 80s, and had 14 African-centered schools. That was far deeper and far broader than a movement than even what we've been doing in Oakland Unified School District. So being able to be in community with our elders and listen and learn what they did, but also find out what happened in terms of why that wasn't sustained, gave me insight in terms of what we need to do as we have President number 45, and how now the broader system then is going to disinvest in this movement, that the more reason why we have to come together and align and build off our prosperity. But it ain't a matter of resource. It's really a matter of we-source, W-E. And I think the journey is about building collective will and how we organize in service of the next generation. So really just blessed to be a servant in the Oakland community, and excited to be in relationship with Sister Phyllis, Brother Edem, and not just Sister Nedra. She's awesome, and her partner is an extraordinary brother, too, in the movement, Sean, as well. But there's some good things happening in Oakland that I think we could, share, but also learn from others as well.
This is Nedra. If I could also lift up, thank you, Brother Chris, in the spirit of learning from our elders, learning from who's already in community and getting support from who's already in community, I would also like to lift up how do we learn from other people as well? How do we learn from other strategies as well to push beyond the common practices that we're already doing in community, but to continue to learn. Oftentimes when we come into the community to do work, we're coming from our spirit, we're coming from a perspective that we know that we love our community, but we don't always look to see what other practices may be out there too. So some of the research that's out there in other communities, other indigenous communities, that we've looked at is this notion around happiness. How do we look at creating happy communities, joyful communities? How do we look at the neuroscience of how our brains work and how our brains work, how that impacts how we can move in community relative to the joy that we experience and relative to the trauma that we experience. So also, I guess in summary, being able to look at other practices, look at it other interventions, and even look at it at other fields and sectors to allow us to learn from other people as well.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much, Nedra. Sorry, go ahead.
Do we have a moment to jump in real quick? There's one thing, this is Phyllis, that I wanted to say. I'm thinking about Team Ginwright, and one quote that I hear Sean Ginwright say all the time, which is self-care is the greatest act of social justice. And I remember the first time I heard him say that, I was like, we need to meditate on that for like a couple of years because it's a really deep concept. And I'm continually talking about self-care. And when you're thinking about how to get started in your communities, Start small, certainly, like Brother Robert said, but start with yourself. Look at the ways in which you can actively engage in your own self-care, and then as you do that, you begin to see through a different lens, and you begin to work with people maybe that you hadn't worked with before. I think it's really interesting what happens to people when they start to engage in self-care. We had a woman that came to one of our workshops, and she said, I really wasn't into this whole self-care thing. I was coming for the other part of the workshop. But now I recognize not only how important it is, but I see my colleagues differently now, and I see different ways of working with them. So I think that we underestimate the power of active engagement in our own self-care as well. So start small with yourself, and then look around to how you can collaborate with people in the community. As Brother Chris is saying, has been doing this work for a really long time. So definitely the answers and the resources are out there for us. It's just a matter of starting to reach out and connect to them and stay connected to them as we build and grow.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phil, and Brother Chris and Brother Dimu and Sister Nedra for joining us today on the call. For anybody that had questions that we weren't able to get to, we will send out responses to them from the presenters themselves this week in a follow-up email. But I do want to transfer it back to Robert Simmons to close us out.
I want to thank everyone for joining the call. We are definitely excited to continue to host our Promise of Place webinars. I want to lift up our high school excellence webinars, which will elevate best practices as it relates to high school work. Obviously, he doesn't know this, but Brother Chris is going to be invited to that call as well because they've done amazing work. I appreciate the time that I've spent with Brother Chris. We also are going to have others in our network join us to talk about some of the promising practices. There was just a story about a high school here in Washington, D.C., where 100% of black boys and black girls at a high school in Ward 8, I believe, all applied for college. And so that's an amazing accomplishment there. So the principal, who also is an Oakland native, Yatunde Reeves, she is going to join the call as well as we roll this out. So I want to thank everyone for joining. We have about 1 more minute. If anyone has any specific questions around high school excellence or Promise of Place, again, feel free to email me directly at rsimmons@blackmaleachievement.org. You can also call my office here in D.C. at 202-810-0245. Take care. Enjoy the weather if the sun is shining in your community. Want to definitely give a strong shout out to our panelists. Looking forward to doing this, continuing to do this work. And on behalf of our CBMA team and our CEO, Sean Dove, I want to thank everyone for joining our first call of 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.